Da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, another special Kickstarter review, and today I'm very excited to check out The Networks from Formal Ferret Games. This is for 1 to 5 players, ages 13 up. We'll take about 60 to 90 minutes to play, and in The Networks, you are going to be taking control of a TV station, a TV studio, and trying to manage their prime time schedule, trying to get the most viewers over 5 seasons. You're going to be doing that by acquiring TV shows and ads and stars and trying to keep everybody happy and everybody in the right time slot and getting cool network cards that'll give you awesome special abilities and doing all sorts of that sort of stuff. As you could not tell, it tries to be a very thematic game. Does it succeed? I don't know, let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alright then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of The Networks from Formal Ferret Games. Before we get started, I want to mention this is the promotional copy I have in front of me, so take everything you see here with a grain of salt. Components might be upgraded, and obviously, there's going to be artwork everywhere. So first and foremost, we have our handy-dandy rule booklet. It is, let's say, 27 pages, double-sided. This one does not really have too much color, but this is a very early one. It's still a very well-done rule booklet. It'll have you up and running in no time at all. It does some nice things that I like, where it says when you're first starting the game, like you can just ignore this section and then come back to it when we get to round number 2. And I feel like that's something that's really useful that other games should take you up. But very well done rule booklet, and this is even in the earlier form, so it is only going to get better. But it will have you up and running. So there's a lot going on in this game. I do want to mention that beforehand. We're going to go over the components, then we'll get a little bit into the gameplay, so hopefully you can get a feel for how everything works. But in this game, you are going to be running your own television station. You're going to have a lot to manage here. You're going to have 3 major time slots, the 8 p.m., the 9 p.m., and the 10 p.m. time slot. You're going to have reruns, which is where your shows are going to go from over here to over here. You're going to have archives, which will still help you out on genre bonuses. Then you're going to have a green room, where you're going to be keeping ads and various different stars that you decide to hire, because let's get to the components. You're going to have money. We just have pretty serviceable poker chips over here for $5 and $1. We are also going to have TV shows that you can purchase, because obviously you are going to be running a TV network. So you're going to have a whole row of TV shows that you're going to be able to purchase. You're also going to have a big set of starter shows and starter ads and even a starter star that you're going to start the game with. And these are going to be very, very terrible, unlocking your cat's psychic power. And as you can see, no one's going to watch that, even though I do find it funny that when you flip it over to reruns, eventually someone will watch it. So you're going to have an entire row of shows right here. And I do want to get these out, because I'm trying to get stuff out of the way here. You're going to start off with the Season 1 shows, and that's what these guys are right here. And I have a 5-player game set up, by the way. So you're going to start off with Season 1 shows, and then you'll eventually get to Season 2 and 3, and these will be a little bit more powerful. They'll also be a little bit more expensive, but they're going to get you more viewers. And then you will get down to show Season 4 and 5. Which will get you more viewers, but they also might cost you more to run. They're going to cost you more. Some of them are even going to be able to have more spots for stars and ads, and we'll get more on how that works in a minute. So I'm just going to get these over to the side so we can clear up a little bit of the clutter. So they're going to have TV shows right there. Let's take a look at these TV shows so you can see how they work. So as you can see, this TV show is going to go in the 9 p.m. time slot. Now, it doesn't have to go in the 9 p.m. time slot, but that is the ideal time slot. So if you can put this in the 9 p.m. time slot, then at the end of the round, you're going to get 10 viewers. But sometimes you don't get it in the right spot. If you do that, it will only get 7 viewers. So it is going to be taking a 3-viewer hit, and viewers are victory points in this game. Whoever has the most viewers at the end of the game is going to be the winner of the game. Next, this number right here is going to be how much it's going to cost to start this TV show up. So it'll cost you $1. But in addition to that, down here, you're also going to have to put an ad down here. So sometimes you are required to put ads and stars into shows, and when they do that, it'll be full color. And sometimes you don't have to, and that's what happens when it's gray like this. So this one in particular would cost you $1, and if you're going to purchase it, you also would have to have an ad in your green room. So it would have to be down here. So over here, first season that the show is out, it's going to give you 10 viewers or 7 viewers if it's not at 9 o'clock. Second season, 7 viewers. Third season, which essentially are rounds, the third round is going to give you 4 viewers, and then down here it's only going to give you 1 viewer. So by that point you're going to want to have probably canceled the show. Also right up here, that's how much it's going to cost you at the end of every season to upkeep the show, because some shows are more expensive than others. So it's going to cost you $1 to keep this show up and running, but you should make that money back with your ad, which is a good time to look at some ads. So right here, we have one of your starter ads. And how you're just going to do this is if you had this on here, you'd slide it on there right there. And so essentially, at the end of the season, you're going to make $1 for this show. So essentially, these two would cancel each other out. So I'll show you one of the more fancy ads up here. So yeah, this is a good one. So we have the Reflux Orange Juice. So as one of your actions, you'd be able to take this ad right here. And when you do that, you're going to get $2. That's great. You're immediately going to get $2. Fantastic. Now, also, when at the end of the season, every time this is out here, you're also going to get $2 additional. So now, if you had this at the 9 p.m. time slot and you were done with all your actions and you had decided to take the final action of drop in budget, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes, you would be gaining $1. Now, there are some other special things on the ad. So as you can see right here, rotate unless rotate unless it's on at 9 p.m. So essentially, if you had this at the 8 p.m. time slot, if you flip it over, instead of gaining you $2, it would gain you $1. And there's some other conditions, like this one right here has to be on a sports show. If it's on a sports show, it'll give you $3. If it's not, rotate it, it's only going to get you $1. So there is some real careful planning on when and where you put ads. So those are the TV shows. Those are the ads. Next, we'll take a look at some of the stars. Now, stars are going to be there most of the time to give you more viewers, and they're going to be sometimes pretty expensive. So this adorable hipster is going to cost you $5, but if you can plug him onto a show, we couldn't plug him onto that show, but if we plugged him onto this show, we can now add this number up. So let's pretend that this was at the 10 p.m. time slot. Instead of giving us 10 viewers, it's going to give us 14 viewers, and then next season, 16 viewers. So as you can see, these guys are really going to get you quite a lot of viewers. Now, same as the other ones, some of them are going to have special conditions. So this comedian your parents like, which by the way, there's a good deal of humor in this game, if he is on a sitcom, he's going to get you 2, 4, 1, 1. However, if he's not, flip it over, he's going to get you a lot less. So instead of 2, 4, 1, 1, now it's 2, 1, 1, 0 if he's on the sci-fi show over here. So that's how the actors work. Once you've used an actor, well, we'll get into that stuff a little bit later. So those are some of the main cards you're going to have. You have ads, you have stars, and you have TV shows. You're going to have various different TV shows for various different seasons. Now next you're going to have network cards, which kind of act as some crazy wild cards. They'll do some really cool things. So we'll just pick up the 5 that I randomly put out, and we'll see what they do. So this one, you take this, so it's got this symbol right here, it's immediately going to happen. You're going to draw a star and keep it for free. So that's a really good one. That could potentially get you a $5 actor, which could be a really nice thing. Viewers gain 5 viewers, aka just gain 5 victory points. Very, very helpful. Now you might also notice that there's some symbols down here. Those symbols are mostly just used for the 1 and 2 player games because there's a mechanism called burning, which is a really nicely used mechanism. I'm probably not going to have too much time to get into it, but I'll mention it more in the pros. But very cool mechanism, so that's what those symbols down there mean. We got this one. Discard this card at the end of a season, prevent one of your shows from aging. So if you're on like a really good number, so maybe you're pulling in 16 viewers for one season, you definitely would love to have this card. Now this one you're only going to be able to use it once, but you can use it whenever you want. This one, preempted time slot. You may immediately drop in budget after an action. Now drop in budget, we'll get to what that means in a second, but needless to say, this is a very useful card to start to get 2 viewers after you drop in budget. So you're going to be gaining more viewers. So all these cards are going to be coming out, and at the end of every round, what's going to happen is all these cards go away, and then you're going to deal out new cards. Which is a good time to take a look at our scoreboard over here. So your scoreboard is going to be where you're keeping track of how many viewers you have, aka how high your score is. You're going to be doing that with these little round wooden pegs, but once again, that is the promotional stuff. We have the Kickstarter stuff. So let's take a look at this. It goes from 0 to 100, and this is the startup side. So essentially, wherever you stand on the turn order is how much you're going to get money. So if you go last, you're going to get more money, which can be very, very useful. There's also the budget slot right here, which we'll get to in a second. This is how many stars you're going to set out, how many ads you're going to set out, so on and so forth. And after you're done with this round, you flip it over right here, and we'll talk a little bit more about this stuff in a second. So next, we're going to go to the actions you're going to be able to take on your turn. And actually, I'm just going to set up how you would start off the game so you can kind of see it. So you're going to set up all your stuff like this in your time slot, and then you're going to have these 2 guys sitting in your green room. So let's pretend it is my turn. We'll take a look at some of the actions that I could potentially take. The first action is that I could develop a show. That means I can go ahead and I can purchase a show. And let's just say I'm going first. So I would start off with $5. So I got $5 right here. and I can look at some of the shows that are out here on the board, and I can decide what I want to get. All my shows I currently have are very, very terrible. But you know what? I think I'm going to go cheap for right now, and I think I'm just going to get the Wacky TSA Agent. It's going to cost me $1. Now, there's some other stuff that will cost me $1, but for instance, if I pick this one, it's also going to cost me $1 upkeep. I'm also going to need to use my star here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this card, and I'll just put it in my 9 p.m. time slot, because that is the ideal time slot for that. I'm going to take this card that I used to have, Breath Mints Around the Globe, and put it on my reruns over here. So now this show is on reruns. This is the show I have, and I have to put the star there because it's got the little star. And then I should have these black cubes here to symbolize that that's how many viewers I'm going to get at the end of the season. So no matter what I do at the end of the season, I'm going to be getting 8, 9 viewers. That's a good start right there. I would pay the 1 coin, I'd get my 4 coins back, and that would be my turn. And you're only going to be taking 1 turn per action. So that's the develop show action. The next one is going to be the sign star action. The sign star action is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to look up at these stars right here. You're going to decide which one you have, and they're going to put it in the green room. So I might spend a coin, and I might say, you know what, I'm going to get this public television legend, and he is now in my green room, and I can potentially use him on a later show. So hooray for me. The next action that you can potentially take is to land an ad. Now to land an ad, you're going to go up here, and you're going to pick whichever ad you want. And as I mentioned, they're all a little bit different. Some of them want to be at particular time slots. Some are going to give you more money when you first get it. Some are going to give you more money in the long run. And I'll look at what I have, and you know what? I want money right now, so I might take this squeaky clean mattress. So when I first purchase it, when I first acquire it, I'm going to get $3. So that's great. I just got $3, and then when I put it on a show, it's going to give me $1 at the end of every season for as long as I have it. So I would take $3. So that would be another action that I could take. Another action you can take is you can take a network card, which, as we mentioned, are these pink cards right here. I might say, you know what, I'm just going to do this one right here. It's a nice, easy card to explain. I just get a score of 5 viewers, so I have immediately taken the lead over everybody. I'm at 5 viewers. Hooray for me, and then this card is discarded. Get out of here, card. One more action that you, or excuse me, 2 more actions that you can take is the attach the star or ad thing. So essentially how this would work is there's nothing really I can do. Yeah, this is a good example. So let's pretend I had this card and I had this on a time slot, because when I play this card I don't have to play an ad or a star because it's in gray. So I might play that down and I might not have anything. So then I come back a couple turns later and now I have an ad to put on it, so that would be my action. I could just slide this ad right here and bada boom, and we'll just pretend like we did this. And we'll say it's in my 8 p.m. time slot, and yeah, there we go. This would go back into reruns. And then I will show you the final action, which is to drop and budget. And this essentially is like passing. This means your turn is over. So what you're going to do at this point is you are going to take your token that was in the turn order slot right here, so I was going first, and then you're going to move it to whichever is the furthest left on the budget slot. Now the budget slots are going to give you, when you first start the game, they're only going to give you money, but after the first round, they're going to give you both money and viewers, which can be very, very beneficial, because the first person to go out, boom, $10 and 5 viewers, as opposed to only $2. Also, this is going to play a role in the turn order track, so that's very, very useful as well. So we would do that, I would gain my money, I would gain my viewers, and then we can go ahead and score the season once everyone's done. I'll show you how that works. So at the end of the season, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to check your income. So my income would be $1 from the TV shows I have, because I am getting $1 of ad revenue. And as I mentioned, if I would have had this one, it would have cost me $1 to keep this show up every season, so that would essentially canceled out. But since I didn't, I have $1 revenue coming to me. Hooray! Next, you're going to score viewers and reruns. So how you're going to do this is you're going to look at your black cubes and you're going to see what number's next to it. So this one likes to be on at the 9 p.m. time slot. So I'm actually going to take this smaller number. So I get 4 viewers here. I get 9 viewers here, so I'm up to 13 viewers. I get 0 from this, and then I have 2 from my my reruns over here. And once you score your reruns, they go into your archives. I'll explain the archives in a second, but first I want to point out something that's really ingenious, and I don't know if I'll mention it in the final part, is that you actually have a score tracker right here. For people who can count really well in their head, this is not a big deal, but for someone like my wife, this is absolutely outstanding. Genius idea, just fantastic graphic design, but I'll get more into that when I go into the pros and the cons. So anywho, you will score all of that up. You will age your shows, which means you'll move them down 1 season, like so. You'll get rid of all the cards out here and wipe everything out. You'll put new cards out. You'll determine the turn order, and then you will start up the next season and rinse, wash, and repeat until you have completed 5 seasons, at which point you will tally up the score, and whoever has the most viewers will be the winner of the game. Now, there's one more thing I did not mention, which are the genre bonuses, which are down here, because like many good cable stations in particular, some stations like to focus on certain things. So if you reach 3 genres of a particular show, such as sci-fi or sports or sitcoms or anything like that, you're going to gain a special ability. So draw 3 stars and keep 1, or draw 3 ads and keep 1, something like that. And if you're able to get to 5 stars, or 5 shows of a particular genre, which is not as easy as it actually sounds, you're going to be able to get an even better special ability. I think like the one that I always pick is you get to draw 3 network cards and keep 1, because those can be very, very swingy and do some really cool things. But that's where the archives come into play, because when you put them into archives, you don't score the viewers anymore, but you still get to keep the genre bonuses. So anywho, you play that, you try and get as much viewers as possible, and that, in a crazy long nutshell, is how the Networks is played. Alrighty then, the Networks from Formal Fair Games. One of my final thoughts, go to the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game's not going to be for everybody. The first reason is, it does get somewhat repetitive. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But that's really kind of mitigated because it's only 5 seasons, and you're constantly having a lot to think about. But I did have someone that mentioned that, so I did want to mention it. Also, this is a little bit of an odd con. This game takes up a lot of table space. If you have a smaller area to play this, and you're planning on playing it 4 or 5 players, you might want to potentially think about this con, because I have a very large table, and even 5 players, we were really kind of cramped a little bit, because you wouldn't think that with a card game, but you have this big sprawling scoreboard in the middle, and you're going to have all these cards set up, like the network cards and the star cards and the ad cards, and then you're going to have your own little tableau, which is pretty sizable. The game has a big, table footprint. I just wanted to mention that, because that is something that a lot of people would not consider. Also, the game from 1 and 2 players to 5 players does play quite different. With 1 and 2 players, there's not too much butting heads, but when you get to 5 players, let me tell you, people are going to be looking and they're like, you're going to get frustrated with some of the choices people make, but I personally like that as well. But I'll talk a little bit more of that in the pros, because I still like the 1 or 2 player version of this a lot. Any other cons that I have with the game? Oh, this one's kind of a weird one. And I'm mentioning this because my wife, so if you play without the advanced network cards, there's not much interaction in the game, which my wife actually likes, because she likes to have engine building games where there's really not too much confrontation. However, when you do add those cards in, there's going to be more confrontation, and a little bit of time sometimes might be able to screw you over just a little bit. It's by no means a big issue, like some people are going to be like getting screwed over just constantly, but if you're like someone who really just likes kind of to focus on their own thing and not have people interfere with your work, then that's something just to take into consideration. Me personally, though, I think the advanced network cards are really freaking cool, and I think most people are as well, but I did want to mention that because of what my wife said. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of struggling here with the cons, people, because the Networks from Formal Fair Games is fantastic. I'm just going to lay that out there. I really enjoy this game. I think this is one of my top 10 most anticipated games of Gen Con before I knew anything about the game aside from the theme and the mechanisms. And now that I've got a chance to play it numerous times, wow, I am so glad they knocked this one out of the park. I like this game for so many reasons. First and foremost, the middle part of the video was very, very long. And that's because there's a lot going on in this game, but it's so streamlined, and the rule booklet is so well done that it's not a complex game. It doesn't feel like a complex game. Like, now that I know this game, I feel like I could teach it very, very well. And also, it's one of those games that once you get it down, because you are doing the same thing over and over again, you're probably not going to need to go to the rule booklet too often as well, which is another good thing. So it's relatively easy to learn and too easy to teach, which is always a good thing. Also, the theme does come across, and that's without the artwork. That's without the artwork. Like, I can't wait to see this game with that artwork. But it does, you have some of these decisions, and some of them are stressful. You're like, oh, I really want that TV show because it's going to potentially give me that genre bonus, but at the same time, I can't bump my 10 o'clock time slot because I got 2 stars on there and we're going to be banking 13 viewers, but I don't want to put it at the 8 p.m. time slot because then it's only going to get me like 5 viewers, and I don't have an ad that's going to sync up with it, and there's some really cool and interesting decisions, and I liked it, and it didn't feel like any other game in that aspect. It really does kind of feel like you're running your own little TV network, and that was really cool. I love when a game has a cool theme, and it comes across really well. So big thumbs up on that. So moving onward, 5 players, it's really good with 5 players. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really liked it with 1 and 2 players. Well, I really liked it with 2 players a lot. 1 player is good. As many of you know, I'm a big fan of solo games. Is this one that would go on my way to play solo? Not necessarily. But the fact that there is a solo variant in there, I'm a big fan of because it is one that you could learn and then potentially teach the game much smoother. But why do I like the 1 and 2 player version a lot? Is because the burn mechanism. I think it's a really cool mechanism. So essentially the burn mechanism works like this. It tries to simulate what would happen in a 3, 4, and 5 player game, which is where people are going to be randomly taking cards that you might potentially want, and that's how it works in this, because I think it's like every 3rd action, what's going to happen is that something is going to get burned. Random cards are going to get burned. Also, another thing that I like is that because the budget is going to get burned. Like, you might want to do all this stuff, but if the budget keeps getting burned, you're like, man, I really need that money, and I know that my opponent is also going to probably cut in budget before I do, and it adds an extra layer to it. So what I'm trying to say here is 2 players, great. 5 players, great. 4, 3 players, I like it at all counts. 1 player is good as well. What else do I like about this? I mean, there's just so much I like about this game. I like the mechanism. Just back this dang thing already. If it sounds like it might be for you, it's probably going to be for you. That is the Networks from Formal Ferret Games, a game that I highly recommend. Oh, that's what I want to mention. We're not done here. The graphic design in this game is fantastic. I love how everything looks and works, and the little players, you got the scoreboard in the middle, and it looks nice, and it feels like it has everything it needs, and then your own little TV station area is so well laid out, and that was one thing I wanted to mention. So they have a scoreboard on your own little personal score pad that you have where you keep track of your station. And this is something that I would never think about, but I really should have, because my wife is bad at math. She's bad at some simple math, like 16 plus 3 plus 9 plus 4 plus 2. Me personally just bring it up in my head, but no, she has problems with that. She has to use her calculator. And what they included was a little score track, a little personal score track that you could do each and every season on that, and a little cube that you can keep track of. And that is genius. That is such a nice little touch that needs to be in a lot more games to accommodate people like her who have issues with that kind of, brain rote counting. You cannot tell the Networks is fantastic. I really enjoy this game. I can't wait to see this one get funded. I can't wait to get a final copy of this game because I like it an awful lot. That is the Networks from Formal Ferret Games, one that I highly recommend you check out. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below. If this looks like it might be your cup of tea, which I'm telling you it probably will be, be sure to click on the Kickstarter link below and in the comments below. Let me know, would you like this kind of job? Would you like that high-stress job of running a TV network? Me personally, I absolutely love to. I love high-stress situations, and the bottom line is, if you fail, you're still going to make a lot of money from that, and then you can go do something that's less stressful. So yeah, that is a job that I would absolutely adore to have. But would you? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube. That was the review for the Networks. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bowers Game Corner.